What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Out of the Park Baseball 21 with our Detroit Tigers. So here, as you can see, we are at the end of the regular season, and so let's go over how our first season went. So as you can see, we were 68 and 94, as you can see, as our final record to end the season. And we were the third worst team in the league. As you can see, all the three worst teams were all in the American League. The Royals, then the Red Sox, and then us, and close behind were the White Sox in our own division and the Marlins. And go over quick around the league who made the playoffs. You have the Yankees winning the AL East, Braves and Mets going from the NL East, Reds, Twins from our own division, Astros, Angels, and Rangers in the AL West. And in the NL West, the Dodgers were breaking the MLB record for wins in a year, winning 126 games in the season. Only 36 losses. Absolutely insane season. Let's go ahead and take a look at their team here and how they got to be so gross this year. And almost an 80% winning percentage. You gotta be kidding me. They have Walker Buehler. Actually, no, let's go by this. You can see there all their best guys. So I have pretty much everyone in the bullpen panning out for them. As you can see, Gratterall, who's supposed to be one of the pieces in the Mookie Betts trade that originally was supposed to go to the Red Sox, but went to the Dodgers from the Twins in a separate trade. And as you can see, he was a closer for them this year, and he posted second best FIP on the team with 2 wins as a reliever. Joe Kelly actually also having a bounce back year. Actually, a really good year, probably, I assume, the best in his career after last year's year that he had with LA after he signed that deal with them after he was dominant in the postseason with the Red Sox. And then, of course, in the rotation, you have David Price. Not that good of a year, but didn't really expect that out of him. Walker Buehler, Kershaw, both having kind of meh years. Alex Wood, FIP of around 4. And then his starts, Justin May, 3.22 FIP, pretty good. I started 17 games for them. Zeke Gratterall actually started 6 games for them too. And he was, of course, good in those games. Now let's take a look at their lineup, of course, and it's just absolutely stacked. I mean, Gavin Lux probably shouldn't be leading off for them, but I mean, still, when you have a lineup that's as stacked as this, I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter that much. So, of course, Lux having a good year. Muncy not having a good year, especially compared to how he has played in the past, but still fine year. I mean, we would take that on our team, of course. Mookie Betts, standard Mookie Betts year. Bellinger, standard performance there. Will Smith having a fantastic first full year in the major, slugging over 500, 30 homers. I mean, anytime a catcher hits 30 homers in today's baseball, I mean, that's super valuable in itself, let alone the defensive value that Smith also provides behind the plate. There's Corey Seager, great year from him. Justin Turner, another great year from him. Chris Taylor, fantastic year from him. Of course, you have Enrique Hernandez, not that good of a year being a utility man. Pollock, good off the bench this year. I mean, this team, very good. And then, of course, your CJ Cron, who we shipped over to them this season, at least I believe. Yeah, I didn't remember who we sent him to, so I was kind of struggling to remember that. But yeah, so since all right, enough of going over a team that doesn't really have anything to do with us. Let's go over the years our guys had this year. So first of all, the catcher spot, of course, Haas and Rogers had a split time after Romine was traded earlier in the year, and Jake Rogers was especially bad. I mean, 258 OBP, not even slugging 300, OPS around 500, OPS plus is 44. I mean, pretty terrible year from him. Haas, I mean, he was pretty decent, I suppose. I mean, he hit for some power, but he also had a sky-high BABIP worth 1 win, so there's absolutely no way that this kind of year would be sustainable for him. So catcher is definitely a position we're going to have to address, because, I mean, I don't really have faith in any of these guys to get any meaningful innings at catcher. I mean, both of them, I guess, could be kind of a serviceable backup, I guess, especially Rogers with his defensive abilities, but I mean, other than that, nothing really redeemable there. Miguel Cabrera, nothing much can be said about his year. I mean, it's pretty well known that his power is pretty much gone. He only hit 5 homers, slugged under 400. He actually had an OPS plus around 100 pretty much the entire year, but it came down a little. BABIP of 360. I'm interested to see if that's around his career average. I'm not quite sure. Oh, where is it? At least I didn't see it. Okay, I don't know why it's not showing up here, but okay, yeah, here it is. The career average BABIP is around 345, so I mean, maybe a bit high, but honestly nothing too crazy, but maybe a little out of the ordinary considering his current abilities. Kenny Vargas, I mean, whatever, he led the team in homers. At least I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah, he beat Candelario by 1, and it's whatever year for him. I mean, he was just a depth guy that we ended up just bringing up. When we traded Crone, probably going to keep him around on the team next year. I don't know if he'll be in a starting role or just a depth kind of role, but I mean, there's really no sense in getting rid of him since, I mean, he's fine as a offensive player, I guess. I mean, OPS plus a little below 100, but I mean, no sense in really getting rid of him at this point since we have him under team control for a while. Nico Goodrum, I mean, not very good at the bat at all, as you can see. Candelario was probably our best hitter of this year, barely getting OPS plus over 100, worth 2.5 wins. He actually hit better for most of the year, but he kind of fell off a little bit as the year went on. His OBP was around 340 for most of the year. So he definitely fell off a little bit. He was slugging over 500 for a while, so he fell off a little bit at the end. I mean, other guys here, Duel Lugo barely played even though he was on the roster the entire year. Not a bad year from him. I mean, you'd take any kind of production like this from a utility infielder, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. That Paredes, we actually, one of our better, probably our best position prospect actually besides Riley Green. He came up, got a cup of coffee in the majors. I planned on calling him up for basically the entirety of September, but he was actually hurt at the beginning, so I let him go and get a few games in AAA, as you can see, before calling him up. And the season ended after he got 2 games with them, but only 8 games played here. But I mean, he was good in the games he played, slugging over 500, 361 OBP. I mean, if he could be a player like that for us, I mean, it's pretty unlikely considering the sample size is really incredibly small. But I mean, if he could be a player like that for us, I mean, that would be absolutely fantastic. Willie Castro, whatever year for him, I mean, kind of disappointing. He is only 23, but I really don't have any faith in him as a long-term option at shortstop, especially defensively. He was terrible defensively this year, actually. The zone rating was minus 14. He was absolutely horrible at shortstop this year, so I pretty much don't really have much faith in him, but I mean, we're definitely going to bring him back next year, considering the fact that there's really no reason to get rid of him, because I mean, we're very far away from contending, so no harm in that. And then Jacoby Jones, whatever year from him, he actually displayed a lot more power than I thought he would, slugging about 450. I mean, he had a fine year for him. I mean, his ceiling isn't really more than a bench outfielder. Can play for some pretty solid defense, especially in left. Derek Hill is a guy that we called up sometime in July, I think, just to get Robson off the roster, because I didn't really think there's any really place for him. I don't really care for him because he's like a 28-year-old depth outfielder, and Derek Hill is, of course, a pretty young outfielder. Pretty horrible with the bat this year. I mean, he was in the leadoff spot with us because he has decent discipline, I guess, and Gardenhire wanted to do that, but I mean, he was terrible at the plate in the bats he did get, although he is fantastic in center field, so definitely want to keep him around as a defensive option. Victor Reyes shifted over to right field after we brought Hill up, and he was really good for us actually this year. I was pretty pleased with his performance. We're with about 3 wins. Pretty good with the bat, a little bit high BABIP, but I mean, that could very well be his career BABIP because he is decently fast, but I mean, honestly, he might be a guy to build around in the future because, I mean, he had a good offensive season. Good in the outfield. He was good in center and right. So, of course, I'd probably rather him play center because his bat kind of plays up a little bit with his defensive abilities in center. And then here, DJ Peters, the young guy that we got from the Dodgers in the Crone trade earlier this year. He was very good in AAA for 87 slugging, but the limited time he did to the majors, he was not good. So moving on to the pitching staff. Of course, Joe Jimenez was very good for us this year. 2.5 FIP with 2 wins as a reliever. Had a 1.6 ERA. He was on the injured list for a little bit, so missed a little time. So he could have had more innings, but other than that, very good for us this year. Michael Fulmer was very good with us after he came back from Tommy John. He both came in as a starter and out of the bullpen. He was acting as a reliever in AAA, and then he came up. We brought him up after his rehab assignment was up, and let him work out of the bullpen because I feel like, coming off of Tommy John, not having a full season, there really was no way he was going to be prepared to be like a long starter guy because, he, of course, wouldn't really have the time to work up and build up the innings to get his arm ready to manage the full starting workload. But we did get a couple starts in with him, and he was very good in the time he had with us. A FIP barely over 2, worth almost 2 wins in the 42 innings that he got in this year. So very impressed with him. Same with Matt Manning, of course, one of our top pitching prospects. FIP of 3 with 3.5 wins basically, striking out about 10 batters per 9, ERA plus of 195. See also Jimenez at an ERA plus of 302, which is pretty ridiculous, but I mean, love to see that for Matt Manning. And same with Scabal who came out of the pen actually a lot this year, only 4 starts, but he was pretty serviceable at the pen. FIP before, I mean, he's still young, so definitely like to see that. Matt Boyd with 3.5 wins, FIP just over 4. Not a bad season from him. Definitely not a top tier starter, but if Manning can keep developing like this and become the ace of our staff, I mean, there'd be no problem having a guy like Boyd around in the middle of the rotation to fill it out. Daniel Norris actually also pretty decent this year. FIP mid-4, worth about 2 wins this year. Definitely not mad at that. Definitely a decent back of the rotation guy to have. Then you have Casey Mize, who frankly did not pitch as well as I wanted him to this year. FIP around 5. Really hope that he can build on this more in the future. I mean, only striking out 7.5 batters per 9. And definitely would like to see better numbers for him than that. I know he also doesn't really walk many people and had a pretty good strikeout to walk rate to see third best on our team, and the other guys who were above him didn't pitch nearly as many innings as him, but still definitely would like to see. And definitely not a terrible season from him, but of course we're expecting more out of him as he's one of our top pitching prospects and a top 10 pitching prospect in the league for us, so definitely want him to be better than that. And I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Next episode, we're going to be diving straight into our first offseason and making moves to help build our team. So thank you guys for watching the recap of the first season of this franchise, and I will see you guys next time.